This is a complete training session plan I use to develop players all season long, and it can take your team from playing like this to this in just a few months. I'm breaking down the basic building blocks of every single training session I do, from ball mastery to 1v1s to possession to specific positional play. And I'll show you how I progress this over the season to really get the most out of every single player. And before we dive in, I'm testing an idea. I want to give out a free 30-day training plan that maps out what the coach and the player should work on each day. If you'd like a copy, let me know in the comments and I'll make it happen. For most teams, without a plan, most coaches just end up chasing wins. I remember my first season coaching. I planned session by session, week to week without a clear progression. The kids improved, but not as much as they could have. Once I started planning around key phases such as technical, tactical, and game application, I noticed players were learning faster and performing more confidently. It's not about rigid plans, but it's about giving direction. With a clear progression, you develop their skills step by step, which leads to better results than chasing meaningless wins that don't develop the players individually and in the long run, which is what most clubs do. So I'll start with ball mastery. Please remember these phases could vary for teams, and this is the framework I use and manage based on how I see fit within the team that I'm coaching. I want to start off by saying that I include ball mastery in every single training session. It could range from a 5-minute quick warm-up to a whole 15-minute segment where I focus on players doing it right and correctly with speed. Without practicing this, you risk wasting time by moving on to advanced topics when players can't even take a good first touch. You have to meet players where they're at, and every single session I try to include ball mastery activities that challenge the players and increase the difficulty every single time. I've heard most coaches say they don't include ball mastery in their training because they think that players should be touching the ball at home or by themselves. But I think that most players aren't doing that unless there's a parent or a coach behind their back 24/7. So that's why I like to include it in all my training sessions. Each time I do these ball mastery activities, I make it a little harder because that's how you'll see improvement over time. Here are 2 ball mastery activities I've done in the beginning of the season and one at the end of the season to show you how I progress and how the team and players progress throughout the season. The next thing I'll show you is 1v1s. The goal here is to improve confidence in attacking and defending. I'd like to teach the basics of both attacking and defending in 1v1s. Why do I like to teach both attacking and defending topics in 1v1s? Because those are the basic fundamentals of the game. With attacking, I focus on deception, change of speed, acceleration, and doing different moves. And with defending, I like to focus on getting there, slowing down, and getting side on if possible, and finding the right moment to win the ball. And if you're interested in more 1v1 discussions, I have other videos on that as well that you can view. Here are 2 examples of 1v1 activities I have implemented throughout the season that shows some variety in how I train them so players are training in different game situations and getting used to those. And as the season advances and I see players are more comfortable in 1v1 situations, I like to throw in 2v2s and 3v3s for more game realistic moments. And I like to focus on the same things there, but the players have more options when it comes to passing. In these small-sided games, this is where you see players start to connect the ideas that we've been training. They start using what they learned in the 1v1s to create space. I love small-sided formats because every player is also constantly involved and there's no hiding. Every touch matters because every mistake can teach something. And lastly, the last topic I like to focus on in training are positional or possessional games. In these, the main topic for me throughout the season is space. I like to focus on the manipulation of space and the manipulation of defenders and decision making in these. Not all the time, but I like to use training activities that replicate the game. For example, rondos, positional games, and small-sided games where players are focused on reading different cues. For example, is my teammate open? Is a defender pressing? Is there space that I can drive into? Those are the different signals and cues that I teach throughout my training sessions. These activities keep the ball moving, but they also demand that players make their own decisions instead of following a script. And if you want to guide learning, set constraints or rules, such as things like limited touches, overloads, or target goals, so the players naturally find the right solutions. So how does this translate into the game? When you train this way, the difference shows up immediately in matches. Players start recognizing signals on their own, when to play into space, when to drive into space, when to combine with other players, or when to hold on to the ball. They build confidence because they're solving problems themselves, not waiting for a coach to hand them an answer. And that's how we develop smarter, more adaptable players, and that's what youth soccer should be about. So how does this fit over a season? Like I mentioned before, early in the season, I like to hammer in ball mastery and 1v1s. Once I'm more comfortable, I do some positional and possession games and some obviously 2v2s and 3v3s. By this time, I already see players applying the principles throughout the entire training session. And again, every session is just a different implementation of the same framework. Each and every session and game, I'm analyzing what we need to work on as a team and individually and trying to apply it in the next training sessions. Whether it's a more challenging ball mastery activity or training attacking in the final third. A good example I can think of right now is in the beginning of the season, I see as a team we weren't really building out of the back very effectively. So instead of scrapping my plan, I tweak one activity to reinforce those concepts that help us building out of the back. And that way I'm still following my framework, but I'm applying it to real issues that my team faces. Also, I want to emphasize consistency. As a coach, you know you're not going to see results right away, but the results you see in maybe 2 to 3 training sessions or 2 to 3 weeks are always worth it as a coach. It's weeks and months of the coach guiding and teaching the same concepts and principles and the players trying to apply them that get results. If this video gave you ideas for your own sessions, hit like and drop a comment sharing what age group you coach. I love seeing how different coaches can adapt to these concepts and principles and use them. And again, if you want that 30-day training plan PDF, comment below and let me know and I'll send it out once it's ready. This will really help you bring structure to your season.